Hello everyone, Danny here today with a new hat, new coffee mug to talk to you about a really fun book. I mean, is it a great day to be me or what? The book I want to talk to you about is Life Reset, Environment versus Player. This is book 2 of the Life Reset series. I did a review of the book 1 and I'll try to remember. I'm terrible at remembering to do this, but I'm going to try to remember to put a link to the first one in case you haven't seen that first one and you want to go back and check it out. This is a great second book. Before I get into that though, I have a favor to ask. If, like me, you love audiobooks, please subscribe to my channel, turn on notifications, come join me in my audiobook journey. Now in book 1, we're introduced to Oren. Oren is this guy that got in on the ground floor of this game that kind of took over the world. And he manages to make a fortune, get all of these special abilities that only he can teach because of who he is in the game, and gets this big guild around him and really, becomes someone important. Both in the real world, he's making a ton of money in the real world off of his position in the game and in the game. And he has this friend, quote unquote, that he trusts, that's his second in command, who manages to find a special scroll and uses this scroll to kick him out of the guild and turn him into a goblin, which is like the lowest of the low and goblin fodder. Thinking that, hey, then Oren will delete the character, Oren will have to start over, and then that person who's second in command, he'll get all those special abilities and he'll have control of those special abilities. That's not what Oren does. Oren decides, hey, I'm gonna play this character, and he's warned, don't play that character. He decides to play the character. There's a connection that happens between him and the game, and all of a sudden he can't clock out of the game. All of a sudden he's permanently stuck in this game, and he's got to get himself to a certain level before he can get out of the game. Now, he makes a deal with the executives at the game. You got to listen to the book to see how he does it. This is all book 1 still. He makes a deal with the executives at the game for them to take care of his body while he's in the game building himself up. And there's some other help that they'll send his way as well. And that's important because book 2 starts with something seemingly small occurring at his house with his real body. And you want to pay attention to that when you listen to the book, because what happens with his real body at the house plays a vital role and kicks off from there. Now, he finishes book 1 being tortured like you can't believe. And that's what kicks off this thing that happens with his body in book 2. But it also kicks off him becoming too immersed in the book. So book 2 starts off with him too immersed in the game. Sorry, misspoke that. Too immersed in the game. Book 2 starts off with him too immersed in the game. All of a sudden, he thinks he's an NPC. He thinks he's a goblin. He's forgotten that he's a human being playing a goblin. And he's got his friend Vic, who is an AI in the game that kind of has to step in and save him. And there are times even after he gets saved from that, there are times when that starts to rear his head, where he starts to slip back into that mode of forgetting that he's actually a human being playing a goblin. But something that gets introduced in this book is more players. He makes a deal so that more players get brought into the game, and that adds the challenge of him keeping straight who he is versus them. He keeps slipping into this, it's us, the goblins, versus these people. They're evil, they're travelers, and it adds to that, but it also allows an infiltrator to sneak in. It allows someone to sneak in and start tearing apart his camp. Now, he's got this huge war party heading towards his village. And these are all high-level players, and of course is being sent by his old guild, because the guy that betrayed him has figured out, hey, we're going to have to kill Oren. We're going to have to destroy this. The guild is falling apart without him. without those special abilities that he had. I've got to get those back, or I'm going to lose my guild. I'm going to lose my post, and this will all have been for naught. So there's this massive war party heading out to, and it's way too big for him and his village to take on. So he's got to figure out ways to quickly build his village up. And he comes up with a lot of really unique, clever ways to build his village up. So a lot of the fun of the book is the different ways he comes up with to expand and build his village. There are some new characters that are added into it that are a whole lot of fun. And the new Seneschal is this kind of an interesting, creepy guy who, up until almost the end of the book, I didn't trust, because I thought that he was in league with the Infiltrator. And I was kind of right, kind of wrong. You're going to have to listen to the book if you want to know what I mean by I was kind of right, kind of wrong on that one. But one of the things is you don't really know who the Infiltrator is. And the Infiltrator causes some real setbacks before the Infiltrator gets unmasked. My one disappointment with the book was the unmasking of the Infiltrator. He unmasks the Infiltrator and then converts the Infiltrator to his side, and it's very short, it's very quick, it's very sweet. I don't know. I would have liked to have seen more drama in there. During that portion of the book, I didn't feel any sense of drama. I didn't feel any edge of my seat tension kind of a thing. So it was a letdown, because that was a moment that for me there could have been some real tension, and I didn't feel like there was any. Lots of tension in other parts of the book. Don't get me wrong. It's a really good, really enjoyable book. They add some narrators to this book. Now, one of the things that I really, really like, they keep the original narrator. The original narrator is a great narrator, does an excellent, amazing job. He keeps all of his original voices. So they don't add new narrators and have them take over some of his voices, which would disrupt the flow of the book. I can think of multiple examples of authors who have done that. Oh, we're going to go from one narrator to two narrators. I think they actually go to three narrators in this book, but we're going to go from one to two, to a male and a female, and we're going to have the female take over all of the female voices. And all of a sudden, a voice from the previous book that the narrator was doing a good job with, even though it was female, is completely changed, and it breaks up the flow of the book. They don't do that with this. They've got enough new characters being introduced into this book that they can have these new narrators take over those voices, and it's seamless. You don't even notice really that they've added new narrators to it. It was brilliant. I loved that. They did a great job. There is, with this book, a bit more sensuality, a bit more sexuality. There's not any like actual sex or graphic sex, but there is some more adult moments, adult references. Trying to think of how to phrase it. This is a book that had I gone to listen to it with I wouldn't have listened to this book with my kids when they were younger. I would have waited until they were older. But if I'd have gone to listen to it when they were older, in the presence of my wife, she would have objected, because she would have felt like it was too adult for them when they were 12 to 14 years old, kind of a thing. So be aware of that. Of course, you've got violence and everything else with it. The conclusion to the book, to him finally winning this unwinnable battle, is really, really well done. You don't get a hint of how you get hints of this is how he's going to defeat them. These are his plans. This is what he's done. This is what he has set in place, and it all falls apart, and it doesn't really work. But then when things do work and things do come together and he actually does win, even at the moment that it's happening, you're honestly, at least for me, I was sitting there at the edge of my chair going, is this going to work? I can see what he's trying to do now. This is a desperate last-minute attempt to save it. Is this going to be it? Is this going to work? Or is this going to fail and then he's going to have to come up with something else? And I'm not going to tell you whether that's what worked or whether he had to come up with something else, even though you have no clue what I'm talking about, do you? Unless you listen to the book. Get the book, listen to the book. If you like this review, please hit the like button. If you like my channel, subscribe, turn on notifications. Questions, comments, feedback, it's what the comment section is for. Put them in there. But most importantly, no matter what else you do today, make sure that today you listen to at least one really good audiobook. Oh, and I highly recommend Life Reset, Environment versus Player by Shemer Kuznits. Thank you.